Hello and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Watch and Wearer. I'm your host, Robert Chest. Thanks for joining me today. Let's start off with who are you wearing? So, to start off with, I have on my beautiful Seiko Couture collection. This is a Radio Sync Solar by Seiko. The Couture collection has this really interesting band. I'll give you some close-up details on that so you can kind of see it. Fell in love with this watch almost immediately when I saw it, and had to ponder it for a while before I really pulled the trigger. It is a Radio Sync Solar, which means that once or twice a night it tries to sync to via radio signal to a satellite that's going to relay data from the atomic clock, which is located in Colorado here in the United States. The idea being that it's going to update itself every night and be super accurate, never need to be, adjusted. Whether that works, I'll be honest with you, I've had this watch for a little while and I don't know. I haven't had a chance to really check and make sure that it's syncing to the atomic clock the way that it's supposed to. But you can manually set this watch in a way that's actually pretty interesting. I'm enjoying it. I love the look of it. It's got a really beautiful kind of grayish blue tone dial with silver and gold accents that I think is amazing. One of the things that I'll do anytime I talk about a watch, I'm going to try and put it into the breakdown. My little system of organizing how dressy a watch should be in terms of how you pair it with your wardrobe. This watch is a dressier watch, although it's not the dressiest watch. So I really would rule out let's rule out the tuxedo. You probably cannot wear this with a tuxedo. It's too much. It's going to take away from the look that you're going for when you're in the white and black of a tuxedo. But that being said, I think that it would certainly work well with a tailored suit or couture suiting, all the way down. Probably, I'm wearing it with a sport coat right now. It's a little bit difficult to tell if this is a blazer or a sport coat, given that the buttons are not gold or silver. They're kind of black. But these buttons do remind me of a blazer, so I'm going to call this actually a blazer, which means that I'm probably going to say I'll give it to number 4. Number 4 is chinos and sport shirts. I think it could go with chinos and sport shirts all right, but probably with jeans that's a little bit too far. So a pretty versatile watch. Number 4 to number 9 in the breakdown. Gives you a lot of room to play with. So that's it. Seiko Couture Radio Sync Solar, number 4 to number 9 on the breakdown. All right, with that done, let's go ahead and let's roll the intro. All right, welcome back. And I was so caught up in doing my "Who Are You Wearing?" Talking about my watch, my beautiful Couture Seiko, that I forgot to mention what I'm wearing. So I will go ahead and talk about that for just a little bit. I do have a blazer on. It is a peak lapel blazer. Right there, you can kind of see how that lapel comes up to a point right here, rather than having a notch. So a notch lapel blazer would kind of come right here, and this one, has a little peak to it. It's called a peak lapel. It's not specific to blazers. It can be on any number of types of suits. It's more traditional on a double-breasted suit, where the suit actually sort of wraps and comes around over top of itself and has essentially two sets of buttons that run down the front there. It's fairly traditional on that type of suit, but making a comeback a little bit in other suiting. You'll find it in various places. It's just a neat little touch, something different, and it works really well in this nice, beautiful blue blazer to sort of just set it apart, make it stand out. It's not just your typical traditional blazer. This one is by Trevera, which I have talked about before. Not really available anymore, but still something that I think was maybe even ahead of its time in terms of when it came out a few years ago, being something that really brought some interesting fashion to the table for guys. A lot of stuff for guys is very basic. You can walk into any store and just about pick up the same thing, and it's hard to find things that stand out a little bit. I also want to talk about the shirt that I'm wearing. This shirt I bought in Munich when I was there visiting my brother a couple of years ago. It's from a company out of Milan called Boggi. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. It's B-O-G-G-I, Boggi. And you can find that online. They do amazing collections for menswear. One thing to keep in mind, a shirt like this that's more of a European brand, it's going to be sized a little bit differently. So instead of the 15.5, 33 that I would normally wear, here I'm wearing a 39, and that refers to the chest size, just like your jacket size. So you order it more or less by the jacket size instead of by the neck and sleeve length. But Boggi is certainly a brand to take a look at, something that's available now online. As far as I know, I don't know if you can get it in terms of a store in the United States. But there are little shops around Europe, and I ran into this shop in a little shopping center in, like I said, Munich, and really fell in love with this shirt and have worn it for years actually, and still am enjoying it. And I've paired it today with a little knit tie. You'll notice that I've got the little back portion just peeking out, and that's something that's just a slight nod to what's happening right now in fashion. It certainly is something that you're going to see if you're on Pinterest. Just this little peek of the back piece of the tie poking out. And the reason why I think that this is happening is that ties have been getting skinnier and skinnier and skinnier. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit in Robert's Rules of Order coming up, so stay tuned. So ties have been getting skinnier, and it's sometimes it just happens that that's going to poke out. And as long as it matches the rest of the tie, and you're not seeing like the seam, so you have to make sure that you have it turned correctly so that the seam is on the back on both the front and back piece of the tie. You can have that kind of, and it's a great way if you're wearing a jacket, something that cinches nicely there, can hold those pieces in place for you. It just shows a little bit of extra material on the tie, gives a little bit of extra interest. I'm crazy about it, and so you may see me do it here and there, but don't be afraid to show a little bit of that back piece of the tie. Just have it poke out a little bit. It's cool. It's happening. It's right now. And one other thing, I do have a nice little summer scarf that would work well with this. It's not really great for indoors, but I thought I'd throw it in to show you how I would wear this. First of all, kind of double it up end to end, and you want to make sure you've got your hand through there. And then what you can do is just put it around your neck and pull it through, right? And some of this extra, if you don't need it, you can tuck it right into the jacket. Maybe pull it over to the side so you still see your tie. Make sure it's not too big, and there you go. You've got a nice like fall, slightly cool day look, mostly for outside, right? And then when you're inside, boom, you're ready. You can just take this off and just wad it up in a little ball, and it's good to go. All right, so that's Who Are You Wearing for today, parts 1 and 2, all sorted out for you. Then what I thought I would do today, a little bit different. I want to do a review, but this is not a watch review per se. This is a review of a brand new service from Amazon called, I believe it's Amazon Prime Wardrobe. I believe you have to be a Prime member in order to have access to this. I'm not 100% sure about that though. But Amazon Prime Wardrobe is an opportunity to try things on before you buy them. Essentially, you have the opportunity to select 3 items. It might be clothing, it might be accessories, it might be watches. Not this watch necessarily, but you can certainly select watches, which is why I'm talking about it here. You put that in your cart, you have them send it to you. These 3 pieces, you have 7 days from the time that you receive them to try them on and decide which ones you want to keep, which ones you want to send back. There's a label in the box that lets you send these back, anything that you don't decide to keep. And you're going to update Amazon, if you before you send it back. Hey, Friday. What you want to keep, what you're going to send back. Say hi, Friday. Say hi. Hi there. Get down. There you go. You get to update Amazon what you're going to keep, what you're going to send back online, and then send it back to them through the UPS system. It's pretty easy. It's pretty painless. It works the way that they say it's going to work, which is all to the good. But there are a couple of things that I wanted to point out. The first is the watch selection that's available on Amazon Prime Wardrobe is relatively small. You do not have access to everything that's available on Amazon. My kitty keeps wanting to join me today. You don't have access to everything that's available on Amazon. Hi, Friday. So it's only a couple of brands, a couple of items. Well, I shouldn't say a couple. There's probably a few hundred items across maybe 20 brands that I was able to look at that were eligible for Amazon Prime Wardrobe, something that could be sent to me ahead of time. And we're talking about price points from, $30 to $150. I don't know if I saw anything that was over $150 in terms of its retail price, which means that you're talking about the sort of low-end watches. You're talking about fashion watches. So a lot of things that a lot of real watch collectors are not going to be super excited about getting. So that's certainly something to keep in mind, that the selection is relatively narrow. Now, I was able to come up with 3 watches that I wanted to try out. These were 3 that I had been looking at, hearing about. I thought this would be a great opportunity to see what Amazon Prime Wardrobe is all about, experience these 3 watches, and really get a sense of what's going on. So I sent off for these 3 watches. I had them with me for about a week. I actually had them here during a time when I was taking doing some photography with a photographer friend of mine. And so I have some neat pictures of all of these watches, which I'm going to probably intersperse here on the video. Ultimately I decided to keep one of the watches and send 2 back, although there's one of them that I'm kind of debating on. But without necessarily reviewing these 3 watches right now, although I will probably talk about them in a later episode, I wanted to talk about the experience of Amazon Prime Wardrobe, because it is something that retailers, traditional retailers, brick and mortar retailers, where you walk into a store local to you, like a Macy's where I work, are certainly concerned about Amazon Prime Wardrobe, because they're sort of playing in our space. They're doing something that that traditionally you to get the experience of trying something on before you buy, you had to walk into a store. So that was kind of my impetus behind trying it out. A, to get my hands on those three watches, give them a try, but also to sort of see how it stacked up to the retail experience. The biggest complaint, the biggest downfall is that that availability of what they will and will not send you still very limited. But otherwise, it worked pretty well as advertised. Now, the watches that I got an Orient Bambino. I got two Seiko 5s, one that had more of like a military styling, kind of a field watch style, and then sort of a dressy watch style. And it was just not quite as dressy as I wanted to be. I wanted it to be at the time. So that one, that sort of dressy watch that was maybe a little dressy, a little casual, with the metal bracelet, I may revisit that at some point. It was a nice watch. It just didn't quite fit the spot in my collection that that I was looking for in terms of a dressy watch. Instead, I started looking at the Citizen Grand Classic that I shared with you in my last video as my watch crush. So still looking at that one, trying to fill that spot in my collection that was something that I really love, which, if you'll remember, is Robert's Rules of Order #1. So that's my review of Amazon Prime Wardrobe. It has very limited utility, I think, at this point in terms of watches, just because of the limited selection. But watch that space, because you know, they may do something interesting with it that I don't anticipate. My biggest concern would be that they may never play outside of that $150 price range, just because they're literally sending you something before you have purchased it. Now, they have your credit card information and everything like that, but still, it seems a little bit. I'd be a little bit hesitant to send out a really expensive, nice watch without having you purchase it first. So we'll see what they do with it. Right now, it's a very limited space, but one that you can keep your eye on for, like a Seiko 5 or something like that. That could be a nice piece to add to your collection. If you don't know what a Seiko 5 is, I'll talk more about it later. But essentially, it's an automatic Seiko, usually with the crown at the 4 o'clock position in a recess, sort of recessed to the side of the watch. Nice watches, very affordable, a great entry automatic, but I'll deal with more on those later once I start getting my hands on some, because I certainly want to add some of those to my collection as well. All right, so that covers the meat of what I want to talk about today. I do have a couple of extra things that we'll throw in. Our Robert's Rules of Order for today is our first one. And I did a kind of a watch-oriented Robert's Rules of Order last time. This time I thought I'd go more towards the sartorial, menswear, fashion-oriented rule. So this is Robert's Rules of Order regarding menswear, specifically with jackets. So you'll notice that my jacket has a relatively narrow lapel right here. There are certainly jackets that have wider lapels. In fact, the traditional lapel is a little bit wider than this. Now, this one does come up and to a slightly wider area here because of the peak lapel, because it doesn't notch right here, but still a fairly narrow lapel. And what I wanted to share with you is that you should match your lapel to your tie in terms of its width. Scale is very important when you're putting an outfit together. And this is one place where some guys can get confused. They might pair a jacket with a traditional, slightly wider lapel and then wear a skinny tie, and that is not what you want to do. You want to compare the scale of the lapel of your jacket to the scale of the width of the tie that you're wearing, and you want those to be relatively close together. You don't have to take a measurement, right? But if you're wearing a thin lapel, you should be wearing a thinner tie. If you choose a tie that's thicker, that's wider, and those are still around, obviously, not every tie is skinny or narrow, then you should pair that with a lapel that also is wider on your jacket. And that's going to keep you in scale, keep you looking like you know what you're doing in terms of men's fashion. So that's Robert's Rules of Order for today. Match the scale of the width of your tie to the width of your lapel on your jacket. There you go. The last thing I'll do is our Watch Crush segment. I'm doing a series of videos here kind of in rapid succession because I happen to be on vacation for a week and I'm taking the opportunity to push out some content. This is my third video all time ever. So I'm excited to be doing these sort of at a pace of one or maybe even more a day if I can fit some more in. But I still love the watches that I have shared with you before and am just as much crushing on those. But I'm going to continue to share watches that have caught my eyes in the past and that I'm still thinking about purchasing. The one that I'm going to bring to you today, I don't necessarily have a reference number, but if I find it, I'll share it in the comments below. But this watch is a green watch by Vostok, which is a Russian diver company, Russian diver's watch company. It's the Vostok Amphibian Special Edition Neptune in green. I'm going to put a picture up so you can take a look at it. Vostok is, from what I've heard, some great divers watches with a really accessible price point. It's not too expensive, but something that really has a lot of brand history behind it as well. Obviously, used by the Russian military for diving and things like that. You can find them with little diver dudes on the. In fact, the watch that I'm thinking of that has these is called or referred to as the diver dude. He's got a little diver on the face of the watch. You can find them with submarines, planes on the face of the watch. They're really cool. This particular one has kind of a textured dial. I really love it, in part because it's green, and I'm looking to pick up a watch with a green face. Now it has it's got a special connection from the watch case to the band, to the bracelet in this case, which means that it doesn't necessarily work with a lot of straps. But one of the things that I actually have, I have a green strap that I bought. This one is a Shinola that I picked up at Nordstrom Rack on clearance. I've had a lot of fun with this one, putting it on watches that I have. So green is just a nice color for me. I have a green pen. I don't know. It's something that I really enjoy. So that green watch really caught my eye. It's one that I really, really love and will probably add to my collection pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. I'll do a review of it when I do purchase it and get it in. But the Vostok Amphibian Special Edition Neptune, it's available in green and blue that I've seen, but it does sometimes sell out. I think you can get it on Marinon.com. I'll put that in the comments as well. But that's my watch crush for today, and that will bring us to a conclusion of our video. If you like the content that I'm bringing to you, feel free to like the video that you've seen today, and also subscribe if you want to see more content in the future. That helps me out a lot, and I would love for you to do that. So just hit the subscribe button if you get a chance down below. Thank you, and join me next time for Watch and Wearer.